Welcome to WTEW Bible Studies. So we finished both books of the Thessalonians, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians. I wasn't sure what we're going to do next. And as I was watching different YouTube videos, I see a lot of them coming up and they say, is the Ezekiel 38 war the next thing that's going to happen? And that's the last thing that's going to happen. When you hear about Gog and Magog, that's not at all the next thing. Let me just put things in order for you. Things that have to happen before the Gog and Magog war. Revelation 7, 1-4. There's 144,000 Jews have to become Christians. They get sealed before the four winds of heaven are allowed to blow. If you compare that with Daniel 7, 2-3, it says the four winds stir up the great sea. And whenever these four winds stir up the great sea, another world empire is formed. So we saw the four world empires. It was Babylon, Media, Persia, Greece, and Rome. So those have all come and they have all gone. Those are in the past in history. But that Roman Empire is gonna re-emerge. And before that re-emergence of that Roman Empire, these four winds have to be able to blow. And they can't blow, it says right there, until 144,000 Jews become Christians. So we're looking for that to happen. So if these Abraham Accords is this covenant that was just made over this last period of tabernacles, the last day of tabernacles, they signed that accord. If that is, in fact, the 7-year treaty, Daniel 9:27, then we're going to look for those Jews to become Christians. Another thing that needs to happen is that the temple in Israel has to be rebuilt. And we see that in Revelation 11:1. As far as that Ezekiel war and these powers, so Gog is the spiritual chief of Magog. He's not the Antichrist. He's not the Prince of Rome, and he's not the Prince of Greece. So all these powers are going to have to come up. So the Prince of Rome is the seventh head that you'll see in the book of Revelation and also in the book of Daniel, one of the last crowns. But in the book of Revelation, you'll see that there's also an eighth head that arises, and that will be a little horn from the Greek Empire. So the Prince of Rome is going to be involved, and there's going to be actual physical leaders representing Rome on the earth at that time. So they're just empowered by this spiritual authority. Same way with this one in Greece. So that there was an old guy, Antiochus Epiphanes, way back in history. He was a type of the Antichrist. He came from the Assyrian Empire, the Greek Empire that was in the area of Syria and Iraq. So that's where the Antichrist will come from when he comes. So he will take over the Roman Empire. Now, you can see that when this Antichrist takes over, you can see in Daniel 11:40-45, he'll come from Syria, go all the way through Israel. He'll take Egypt, and he'll look to go throughout more of Africa, but he's going to be stopped. And that's when Gog arises. So there's another power. And so instead of this kingdom of Greece, that new Assyrian Empire, being able to take more of Africa, he's got to turn around. He's got to come back to Jerusalem. And that's where he'll meet these armies of Gog. And instead of fighting each other, they're going to team up to fight against God when he comes. And we'll see when that happens in Ezekiel 38:11-20. You see all those armies, there's going to be a great burial, and the fowls of the air are going to feast on these armies. And it's just going to be this grotesque scene. And that same scene is seen in Revelation 19:21. So that's the last thing that happens, is when all these world armies try to make war against God. That is just a horrible idea. They will all be slaughtered on the mountains of Israel, and they'll be buried. While they're doing that, it's going to take them 7 months. And there's going to be birds just feasting on on all the carnage that goes on over there. So again, this Ezekiel thing, don't listen to somebody that's telling you that's the next thing, because that is the very last war. We're going to have that Roman Empire be taken over from Assyria. And if now's the time, that would be Assad, because he's the one that's had the head cut off. He has been removed from that empire, and he is now in the land of Gog. But he will come back to rule over the 10-nation Roman Empire that's there. And he's the one that's going to go down through Israel and down into Egypt. And he's the one that's going to come back and originally to fight with those armies of Gog, but then they'll come together and fight God. So all these things, some partially fulfilled, maybe not. We'll still have to wait and see. But all those things have to happen before the Ezekiel 38 war. So we're going to go into the book of Zechariah next.